Sometimes the world looks like you ain't ever seen it before. Stuck behind never-ending windows, all you need is a door. Searching for something to put a smile back on your face. Just remember, in unusual times, it can come from an unusual place. You need a partner for the ride, 'cause everybody needs a Clyde. So set your worries to the side. Just ask, say the word and I'll be there. Just ask, you know the greatest things in life all come in a pair. They say hindsight's 20/20, but that ain't far enough behind me. So if you want the sweetest honey, I think hindsight's 1990. There's no need to pretend I got a hand I can lend, 'cause when you really need a friend, just ask. Shit 90 shows taught me.
Shit 90 Shows Taught Me was not filmed before a live studio audience.
Welcome back to Shit 90 Shows Taught Me. I'm Jess Sterling here with my co-host, Sara Fergenson. Sarah, how are you?
Jess, I can't not believe it. Another one in the books. It's pretty incredible. I can't believe it, honestly.
Another season done. Season 2. See you later. Moving on. Except we're here to not quite move on yet. We still have to talk through everything.
Of course.
So, but I think we both are in agreement that season 2 is definitely better than season 1.
Oh my gosh, by leaps and bounds. I really loved season 2 of Felicity. It really changed my perspective of the show. Honestly, I mean, like, I don't know, like, how much I shared last season about how unsure I was if I liked Felicity, the show. But I was like, I remember saying to Adam at one time, I was like, I don't know if I've ever covered a show that I didn't really like at one point in season 1. And it's because Felicity was very unlikable. She was very annoying. She was very much a stalker, a creepo. But season 2 really turned it around. And I think that season 2 of Felicity is one of the best seasons of TV that we've covered on Shit 90 Shows.
Whoa, high praise.
Yeah.
I did like season 2 much better than season 1. And part of it is that I think this is the case with most shows I watch, where by the time the second season rolls around, they kind of know what they're doing, right? Like, they know who these characters are. They know how to write for them. I feel like they're a little bit more established, so they feel like they can maybe take some more risks with the characters. So I really liked season 2, and it's not just because I'm Team Ben, and this felt like a Ben heavy season, or at least like it was all leading up to the Ben moments.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting and revolting.
Obviously, yes. I also felt like that we had some of the best episodes we've had across both seasons in this season. Like there was a stretch of episodes towards the end of the season that I was like, this might be the best stretch that we've had without any duds.
Because we are used to a show like this having peaks and valleys, right? Like,
yeah, when you have 20 something episodes, it's bound to happen.
Yeah, like with Dawson's Creek, I was like, oh, we had a really good episode, so let's anticipate having a bad episode next episode. Like, it was much more up and down, but yeah, there was a really good arc, especially towards the end of the season. Of course, there was times where I was really, really annoyed, but I think that what really made the difference was the amount of growth that Felicity, the character, had this season, which made me proud of her, number one. And number two, just like, I enjoyed watching her, which differed from season 1. But as we get into the character breakdowns, I just feel like Felicity had an incredible season of growth, and she made a lot of decisions that like made me feel like, oh, you learned from your previous mistakes. Rather, like, so the number one thing is she chose herself rather than prioritizing a guy, which is a lesson that I feel like most women have to learn throughout their 20s. So I think that was really incredible to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Felicity, I think being more likable this season really helped with me enjoying it more because she's our point of view character. She's the one, the show is literally called Felicity. Like she's the one we're following around. And the other thing I really enjoyed about this, and we make so many comparisons to Dawson's Creek, so I apologize. We try not to like spoil anything from Dawson's Creek just in case somebody wants to go back and watch it. But I liked that we didn't, every season we would joke on Dawson's Creek about there being a character who would be like, get a character assassination. Like, okay, who do the writers hate this season? And even though they keep doing mean things to Julie, at least they're not making like me hate Julie in the way that like I really hated some of the characters on Dawson's Creek for a while because they would make such asinine decisions. So yeah, I really liked this season and it makes me really, I've been like honestly looking forward to starting season 3, mostly because, you know, I love a premiere because of like the hair change ups, the look change ups. So I'm really obviously excited to see all of that, but let's get into some of these character breakdowns because we do have quite a bit to get through. Let's start with our titular character, Felicity. This felt like a bit of, obviously, we're bookending the season with Ben very much, where she starts the season. You know, they did their road trip. They seemingly have a great time together. Ben gets in his head, breaks things off, and she decides, you know what? I'm going to do that thing everyone does when they've been broken up with, or I guess they weren't even really technically dating, but whatever. And I'm going to do a hair change. So she cuts all her hair off, but we did not like that decision. However, I think both of us were on board with her decision to swap from pre-med to art. And I was a little shocked, Sarah, that this happened so early in the show, because I think we all knew it was going to happen. But I kind of thought we would be playing around a little bit more with like the waffling back and forth of what she should do.
Well, the issue is that I would assume with pre-med, but definitely art, is that there's a lot of prerequisite classes. So, for example, like I, as an art student, wouldn't be able to take a sophomore art class because like a 201 class, because I hadn't taken a 101 class. Right. So if we waffled so much, and maybe like the show didn't think about this, but she would have to be a super senior like I was, because I switched majors, and then I had to take a 5th year because, like I said, of the prerequisites. So I'm not surprised just because of that reason. Just to be clear, I think it's a terrible idea to switch from a pre-med career to an art career. Like, girl, do you want to be poor for the rest of your life? But this was
the 90s, so you have to remember this was the 90s where anything is possible.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we were taught, definitely our generation, like, you can be whatever you want, like, as long as you go to college.
I was just gonna say, as long as you go to college was always the qualifier.
Then if you don't, then you're gonna be flipping burgers, blah blah blah. That was,
you
like,
want to work at McDonald's for the rest of your life?
Yeah, that is what was ingrained in our heads from a very early age. I just feel as though, like, let's look at, like, do you want to make a 6-figure salary or do you want to be a starving artist? Like, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, but the thing is Felicity is an only child and she has generational wealth. So I don't think that's really a concern for her. Her dad is a doctor. Like, are they really I don't think she's concerned with, like, how am I going to make money? I think Felicity is like, how am I going to be happy? Yes. And I think that's where the art comes into play. And speaking of her parents, her parents are going through a divorce this season, which really kind of destabilizes her for a bit, especially with her dad coming to visit and knowing that he's the doctor and wanted her to be a doctor. There's a lot of pressure on her to kind of make a decision, stick to it. And not just that, but this isn't even just an only child thing, but I think sometimes it gets associated with that is trying to please your parents and make them happy while you're completely across the country. I think, Sarah, this is another tick in the column of reasons we were proud of Felicity this season was how difficult it can be to stand up to your parents, and the fact that she did do that and was basically like, I want to be happy. I'm happy that I moved to New York. Like, I needed to do this. It wasn't just about Ben. You know, I feel like I'm finally standing on my own 2 feet.
Yeah, I really like how Felicity, yes, of course, like there was maybe a 1 or 2 episode arc where she was struggling with the divorce, but I love that she did not become a whiny baby about it like some other characters in television could be about divorce.
Yeah.
And I was really proud of her for establishing boundaries with her father, especially moving to New York. The divorce itself seems as though it might resolve because in the finale, she had noted that her dad moved back to California and they're going to try to fix it.
Yeah, this was interesting because we know from Felicity's mom that like kind of the reason Felicity's parents ended up staying together in the first place was because her mom was pregnant with Felicity. And that was what kind of kept them in each other's lives. They maybe wouldn't have ended up together if not for her. So this is fascinating to me because, and maybe it's because it's a 90s show. I don't know that this would be happening in a modern show. I feel like it would almost just be like, okay, they're divorced and that's it. And we're done. Like, we're not going to do the whole try it again. And who knows? I can't imagine. This isn't Dawson's Creek where the adults are main characters beyond Javier. So I just don't think we're going to be spending too much time on what's happening with her parents going forward.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I think like another moment that was really proud of Felicity was when she decided to, well, number one, the morning after pill thing when she was at the clinic, standing up for what was right there, doing the sit-in. Then after that, she was with fuckface, whatever his name
Greg.
And she was like, I disagree with your point of view in politics. I'm going to stand up for myself. She winds up running. Of course, she loses because she kind of gets like too much in the game of politics. I think that she focused primarily on policy. She could have won, but she did not. And of course, she did not run on Free Pizza Fridays. So it was a losing game.
That was the major flaw in her campaign, and we all know it.
Yes, absolutely. So, but I was really proud of her in those moments as well. I was really proud of her for being there for Ruby, especially when she was struggling. Ruby was struggling with like to be with Noel and to not be with Noel. She put her self-interests aside and gave Ruby some like really spectacular advice. Like all in all, just like Felicity was just such a star. We do have to talk about her little romances because for the majority of the season she wasn't with Ben nor Noel. So we first get David, which is her professor's son. I like David. Like I think that David was like obviously he was going through his own shit. He was dealing with the fact that he lost a girlfriend and set up with his thing by his mother. And at first like he was very resistant. Understandably so. But the more that we met David, I liked David a lot. I didn't think that he was, I mean, maybe he was a little boring, but he wasn't an asshole. And I also thought that it was good for him to be like, this is too much drama. And I GTG, like I am not dealing with this crap.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think especially when I compare him to Greg, it's like, well, we didn't know what we had with David. I just think he was, in my opinion, he was one of those good on paper sort of boyfriends where there wasn't as much of a spark, and Felicity was struggling a bit with like her sexuality and kind of like going from being a virgin to having sex once to then like, okay, well now I'm with someone else, and like she's scared about it. And so I don't think David was the worst. Greg, however, is the fucking worst.
Oh my God, I hate him. And it so reminds me of a relationship that your best friend would have in college, and you just like, oh, this
you're like, fuck this guy. I can't wait until they break up because you know it's going to happen, but you can't say anything negative about them.
Yes. Yeah. And this is such a true experience in female friendship when you're, and I guess like male friendships as well, but like when your friend is dating a guy who's just the fucking worst in every capacity, it is such a fucking slog, especially when they're like, going on and on about him in a good way, but then in a bad way. And then you can't say anything because then they like get like defensive and you're like, fuck, like what am I going to do? Is the absolute worst. And I've dealt with this like so many times. Once again, primarily in my 20s. Most of my friends have figured out their shit by now. Like they're not dating absolute douchebags. But I hated Greg. Like I've said a billion times, like when Greg could have chosen between a good decision or a bad decision or something good to say or something bad to say, every single time he chose the bad choice, the wrong choice, but with so much like undeserved passion, like stuck to his guns, and he was just the worst, like from every capacity. And I think like it's just a rite of passage for somebody to just date an absolute douchebag like this.
Yeah, it felt like we were kind of due for this because the show is never going to make us absolutely loathe Noel or Ben because they want them as options in the future. So just from like a meta standpoint. So we needed to get a good hating into one of Felicity's partners, and Greg fit the bill perfectly. It was really frustrating watching her like kind of fall for him and the will they won't they of it all. I was really pleased that by the end of the season, we weren't having to worry about Greg anymore.
He broke up with her, which is infuriating, but it's also like so real as well. It's like in these types of situations, it's never your friend that's the one that breaks it off. Yeah. It's always, and thankfully, like Felicity wasn't too like ripped up about it, but
we were more so than she was. We were like, oh, we wanted her to get the last word in. You know, we wanted her to be the one to be able to dump his ass. But yeah, at least Greg is gone now. Hopefully we don't have to deal with him anymore because Felicity is not doing the community service anymore. And we end the season with her and Ben kind of figuring things out. He does his Fran Drescher. They're going to be together. They're going to spend the summer in Palo Alto together.
No, wait, hold on. I thought she took the internship.
I was getting there.
Oh, sorry.
Until
you gooped and gagged me, I was like, wait a minute.
Fully had you. Until she gets offered an incredible internship in New York City that really she can't turn down. It's not just that it would be good for her career and future prospects, but like it actually is exciting to her. And so her and Ben make the decision. They're going to go their separate ways for the summer. It's only a little while. They do exchange I love yous before saying goodbye. So presumably they'll be together when we return for season 3. But it really did feel like this season was kind of Felicity not just finding her passion and like finding herself, but also opening herself up to having a little bit more fun. It feels very Joey Potter starting to date Pacey, where it's like, oh, they broke into the pool and got in trouble. Like, I also think it's fun that she's taking, she's now, I don't know if it's technically therapy, but at least counseling with Tony Pavone. And she's like really reconsidering a lot of these things. And Sarah, you and I love when they have therapy on these shows. Like this was something that I think was kind of pivotal for Felicity, even though we didn't always agree with the way Tony did things. Yeah. I do think it was helpful in the end for Felicity because she may have gone back to Palo Alto with Ben if not for Tony Pavone.
Yeah, I think it's really important for you to have a sounding board that is not your peers because of course, like with your close friends, everybody has a little bit of like bias. So I think that having her have a sounding board was like really pivotal. Like I think that Tony Pavone, like I said, maybe not the therapist that I would want, but definitely a good therapist for Felicity at the very least.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree. Anything else on Felicity before we move on? We'll obviously talk a little bit more about her relationship with Ben, like when we get to Ben. But anything we missed on Felicity?
No, I'm just excited for her to grow her hair back out.
Same, very much same.
Yeah.
I'm really, really excited to see where we start in season 3, what she's looking like. Let's move on to Julie. Julie has another tough season for Julie. And this is what I meant by they really get a good hating into Julie, like the writers get a good hating into her, but they don't make us hate her. Again, at least I don't hate Julie. But this is a season she moves in with Ben and Sean. She ends up forgiving Felicity. We start off the season with them not being friends at all.
Yeah.
And then we end the season with them like seemingly, at least in decent, they're decent friends again, maybe not as close as they once were, but they're not enemies by any means. But unfortunately, we go through like another round of like a sexual assault on Julie. And then, everything isn't so peachy keen with her bio family because her mom really doesn't want her in her life and doesn't even want her to meet her father, who doesn't even know she exists. Like, that's really, really tough. She also goes through a period where it seems like maybe there's going to be a her and Noel thing. Like, she definitely has a crush on him, but she's also keeping her options open with Sean because she doesn't really know how she feels about him after he expresses his, feelings towards her. And I thought the Julie and Noel thing was going to go somewhere. I do think it still could go somewhere in the future. But we end this season with Julie finding out that her dad is sick and needs a kidney transplant, and her bio mom coming to her and asking her if she would be willing to like get a test done and see if she's a candidate for a match. So Julie really has like a very, very difficult season, not a ton romantically, but like this is a rough go of it for Julie this season.
Yeah, it's definitely like a poor Julie sentiment, right? And I think that there was like some moments that I felt very frustrated with Julie, especially because like maybe like I see a bit of myself in her. I think like the times where I really loved Julie was, I'm thinking to when the episode The Depths, when Julie and Felicity get stuck in the subway and she sings that like song bashing Felicity.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I thought that was so funny. And I think like the times where I like her is when she's petty, but also like in the same coin, then it's like, well, then how can I get mad at her with some of the other decisions that she makes that seem a little bit immature or petty. So it's kind of hard for me because I'm not happy with Julie as we leave the season. The reasons being like I really just do not like how she handled stuff with Sean. It seems as though it's going to resolve itself because Sean's going to be with Megan, which is like beautiful, stunning, love it. But I just feel as though, as we've been saying, like she had no responsibility to choose Sean and be with Sean. And I understand like she had to kind of play it out, see if it could happen. But I definitely think that there is a big part of her that led him on, just for the sake. I mean, we've talked about it a billion times. We talked about it with DBK. I just don't like, when it comes to Sean, I don't like where she was going. I also think that she gets into the problem of like, because we're on this like poor Julie thing, she doesn't get a lot of fun scenes. Like a lot of like taking the fun out of her character happened. And that's probably why like I like her better when she's being more petty, because it's fun. Like, and it's unfortunate. It's very much like Jen Lindley from Dawson's Creek, very much so, where it's just like, it very was like poor Jen a lot of the times, like not getting the good storylines, not being able to have fun, just being a supporting character for everybody else. Like, walking along the creek boardwalk, waiting for other people to come to her for advice. I think that her strongest moment in a more emotional capacity was the sit-in episode where Felicity kind of got a little tongue-tied and nervous being on television, and Julie was able to tell her story. And I was really proud of her in that moment because I felt like she showed a lot of strength and courage to share her story. I felt like it could absolutely help other young people like her. So that was a really great moment from Julie. I thought that the Noel stuff was very interesting. Like, I would have gone down that journey with her. And I feel like there's still potential, especially with Ruby going back to Colorado, for that to happen. Am I wanting it? I don't really know. I don't really think I want it. But and then finally, like, one thing that we did mention is Julie's record deal that may or may not have happened, but her focus is on music. And I think that that is going to continue being like a big story for her.
Yeah, it's I agree with you. Like, I would like to see a little bit more. I don't need to necessarily see her singing. I just want good things to happen for Julie. And I do think her and Noel are quite compatible. So one, wouldn't be surprised. And two, I don't know that I'd be mad at it if we had like a Julie and Noel thing. But I do think like the shining moment for her was certainly in the sit-in, talking about, you know, Plan B and abortions and kind of all of that stuff. And I think in a lot of ways, Julie is like the emotional core at times. Like, she is one of the more, she just is having like such a tough time. And I do think next season, I hope we get some more of her family stuff. Like, you know, where maybe she is able to get a relationship with her father. And I don't really, you know, the mom has made so many poor decisions. She doesn't even deserve to have Julie in her life. But like, you know, I just maybe she can meet her brother and sister. You know, I want good things for Julie, because she's been dealt a really difficult hand so far, and she I mean, it's going to be a tough path forward trying to get like a record deal and stuff in New York City. Like, being a musician, we talk about Felicity going into an art major. Being a musician, I feel like it maybe is even more difficult. Like, it's a lot. It's going to be tricky for Julie, but I think she had a better season 2 than, she had a rough go of it no matter what. But like, I enjoyed watching her story in season 2, despite the fact that it was very difficult for her.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, let's move on to Noel. Where this season shocked me a little bit because, I mean, obviously I didn't know the character of Ruby even like existed before the season, so I wouldn't have been able to say like, oh, this is going to be him and Ruby. But it really was like most of his storyline this season had to do with him and Ruby. And there's like a brief moment with him and Felicity where they're like drinking a little bit and they end up kissing, but it really doesn't last very long. I think
that was the
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
It was messy in the best way. Yeah. But a lot of his season is spent like being a TA and having Ruby in his class, which is problematic to say the least. But I do think we get back to who the core of Noel is as a character when Ruby gets pregnant. And like, even though it isn't his kid, which he finds out later, that like, because Ruby can't count, that he's willing to be there and step up and be there for her and marry her if that's what she wants. And like, because he wants to be with her. So yeah, this is an interesting season for Noel because I think both of us probably were expecting a little bit more between him and Felicity this season, which we really didn't end up getting. But I have to say, 2 things that I absolutely loved about season 2 were things that developed in season 2. Living with Elena. I was skeptical at first, but I loved their game night together. I thought that was so fun. And I loved the bromance he developed with Ben. I thought this was great as a result of the whole pregnancy scare. Like, this was like one of the better things to come out of the season was the Noel and Ben kind of getting over their, mostly Noel getting over his problems with Ben and them kind of forming a little bit of a friendship and on the basketball court.
Yeah, the B-ball, it really solves everything. Yeah, Noel's, I thought, also had a good season of growth. A lot of like what we did not like from Noel in season 1 was the possessiveness, the jealousy. He is the serial cheater. I like, not Ben. I was wrong, by the way. But so I feel as though he definitely grew from last season. And I think like it really was a good showing of who he is at the core, like who he is as a person. And that's like, he has a big heart. He'll step up when he needs to step up. And I think that he's like good in a challenge, like, or in an issue. Like, I think that, of course, like maybe his reactions are still not the best, but also he's like a 21-year-old boy. Like, honestly, once again, like, what do I expect from him in that capacity? Not much. So I think that he has like a really good showing. Like, I think I said something along the lines of like, Noel needs to marinate and he's going to wind up being a great father and a great husband. He just needs to get out all of his like boyish tendencies. And I think
and stop eating beets too.
Yeah, well, the beet storyline is really, really funny to me.
If we don't get a continuation of this in season 3, I will be disappointed.
Oh, I know, and I'm sure we will because and it's always during final season. Megan will always make those beet cookies next.
Yes, smart cookies. Is that what she calls them? Yeah,
smart cookies. Yeah. Who knows when, in what like food form is going to come next? But I really enjoy that. It's just so silly. So I think that Noel had a good season because. Like a better season rather, because he was separated from Felicity. I think that like maybe Felicity brings out a side of him that I don't really like, but also like, let's get out the skeletons. Let's get out all the bad before they try again and live happily ever after in season 4, which I'm sure will happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a better season for Noel because he's not with Felicity. So we're not having to deal with a lot of his like immature stuff. Like he really stepped it up with Ruby. But I really am excited to see what happens with him in season 3 with Natalie, who we know is just like no good. Like I'm excited to see.
Forgot about Natalie. Oh no. Yeah, he's definitely married.
He really could be. And maybe the story for him of season 3 is like, how will I get this annulled or divorced?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think that I'm going to see, if I had to guess, like I feel as though Noel is probably going to be living with Natalie next season and Elena and Julie. Oh no, Julie is always with, well, Elena's probably going to be I don't know where Elena's going to live. Is she going to move in with Tracy? I'm not quite sure. But I don't think that Noel and Elena are moving in together next season. Or they are, and Natalie has to join, and it's going to be a disaster.
Oh, that's a nightmare for Elena. Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to Felicity's other love interest, Ben. We start off not on the greatest foot with Ben, where like Sean gets in his head about being with Felicity, and he is a little bit commitment phobic and doesn't necessarily want to like commit to Felicity. So they break it off, which was really brutal for Felicity, but she moves on again. Like she bounces back very
she prevails.
Yeah. He decides he's going to date some married lady, which wasn't my favorite storyline for him. Got to be honest.
It was a little hot at times.
Yeah,
so.
it was fine. And then I think in my opinion, kind of the turning point for Ben is when him and Felicity break into the pool, because that is where they end up getting in, like having to go to community service. They have to go to counseling and therapy. And he is like, this man will fly across the country, or excuse me, across the continent, across wherever. He'll fly across the freaking ocean to avoid therapy. But luckily, Felicity gets him to agree to do it and not just drop out of school. And he spends kind of the majority of the rest of the season really falling for Felicity, but not being able to say anything. You know, that when he finally does want to say something, then she's with Greg, and Greg fucking sucks. And I think our favorite episodes of the season, which we'll obviously get into later, are probably the episodes that have to do with like Ben declaring his feelings for Felicity and like the chase, right? Like, this is what we look for in these teen dramas, you know, like, and so finally getting that from Ben and getting his Fran Drescher moment and getting the moment where he matures and he wants to be with Felicity, I thought was really nice. And I think it was well earned. Like, it felt like we'd been waiting for that moment.
Yeah, maybe my view on Ben is a little skewed purely based on his growth in the second half of the season, because if I was a team Benner, which I'm legally you're not. Yeah, I would have said like I was like incredibly interested and it like emotionally pulled towards the relationship of Ben and Felicity and everything that was going on there. Like, I thought that he, with his work with Tony Pavone, really developed into a good guy, like a good guy, good boyfriend potential. Like, he clearly needed time to see what he wanted. You know, Felicity got out a little bit of her crazies, which was probably good for him as well, because he's like, oh, she was a little too much. But he really did it for me. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was very much like drinking the juice. Like, I really liked the moves that he made, the work that he did on himself. Like, I think the work that he did in therapy was really, really good. And I think that he really understood like what was important in his life. And I think it's because like he had to be on his own, like that he isn't being supported by his family anymore. Like, he nearly got kicked out of school, so he had to take school a little bit more seriously. Actually, he found a community service that he actually enjoyed doing and actually felt more connected to. Like, he grew up, like he put the work in with himself. He needed to do work on himself. He did the work. He got like learned responsibility. He kind of got burned by, I think her name was Maggie.
Maggie was the married woman, yeah.
Like, and like he kind of like realized that like playing with people's hearts is not a game. Like, people get hurt, and he got hurt, which I think like he needed as well in order to like actually take relationships seriously. And I think that he's like ready. Like, I think he's ready to be a boyfriend, like ready to have a proper relationship. And I think that he did a really good job. And I think that he did his Fran Dreschers, did the work to get Felicity, win Felicity back. And then ultimately, like, yes, what the threat of his relationship with Felicity is there with these horribly long 2 months away from each other, where they can't possibly survive it. But I think that letting her, and I say letting her, but like ultimately releasing the control to let her do the internship, like work on like her future, and realizing that like what I need to do is make money so that I can stay in school. What you need to do is do your professional development, and I'll see you on the other side. And I think like a smaller man would feel very threatened by this and like and threaten the relationship or threaten his future or her future. And I think that like, once again, like the work that he did, like really, really did it.
Yeah, and I like that there's still room for him to grow as well, because he hasn't quite figured out what he wants to do with his life yet, which feels like one of the more realistic things on the show is that, yeah, I am in college, but no, I don't really know what I want to do. And to make ends meet, I'm going to go take this construction job for the summer. Like, I don't have scholarships and other stuff, and my dad cut me off. Like, he really is in a precarious position with his education. And I like that. I like that he doesn't have it all figured out, and he is kind of floundering a bit, because Felicity is a person who, yeah, she floundered for like a hot second, but she went from one major to another. She didn't have a big moment of like, what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. And I like that Ben's future is more ambiguous. We don't really know where he's going.
Yeah.
So I like that about him. And I do think Felicity sometimes needs someone like that, like with a little bit more spontaneity. Because one of her BFFs, Elena, who we could talk about, isn't exactly the most spontaneous. I think she needs some spontaneity in her life. So Elena, I feel like her major storyline this season, beyond living with Noel and kind of renovating their apartment, was meeting Tracy and developing a relationship with Tracy. And we kind of knew right away when Donald Faison was Tracy that it was like, okay, he's going to be around for a minute at least. But I don't think either of us was expecting the like hook of, oh, well, he doesn't want to have sex till marriage. That was the surprise. And so getting to see how she's navigating that and will continue to navigate that, I think is probably going to be a big part of season 3. But Elena definitely grew in the romance department, because beyond this romance with Tracy, any other time she's had a romantic interest, it hasn't been very long for the show. So I like that we're getting her in like a little bit more of a committed, stable relationship and kind of seeing where that's going to go. Because Sarah, before this season, most of her storylines were like, oh, and now she's going to study. Oh, and she's worried about a test. So now she has a little bit more going on in her personal life. You know, she had the episode where she goes out with the girls on girls' night, which was one of our favorites. So I'm really excited to see what Elena has in store in season 3.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that my biggest gripe with Elena has been the fact that, once again, she doesn't act like a college student. She's not fun. Like, she doesn't let herself like enjoy being 20 or 19 and living in New York City. Like, it felt like, come on, Elena, like, please, for goodness sake. And Tracy brings the fun out of Elena, which I just absolutely love. And not only is it like he brings the fun and like loosens her up, but like he's as smart as her and as competitive. So I just feel like there's such a good match, because Elena would never date a stupid guy or a guy that's not motivated in his career and has no ambition. She would never go for a Ben, right? Like, it's just like, it's just not, that is something that Elena would not enjoy. And I feel like a guy like Ben would feel like Elena is like mothering him and smothering him all the time. So I love Tracy for her, because he is as ambitious as her. He is as intelligent as her, does better in tests than her, doesn't study really, which is a little infuriating for an Elena who spends so much time studying. But on top of all of that, like, he's fun. Like, he allows himself to have fun. Like, he really loosens her up. And I think that the twist of him not being your average fuckboy is really good as well. Like, it just makes him have more depth, and his religion is very important to him. Him saving himself for his wife is very important to him. And seeing Elena have to navigate that and be like, well, is that a deal breaker for me? In some cases it is, in some cases it's not. And I also really love when Tracy comes to her and is like, actually, I changed my mind. I want to have sex. And she's like, well, I don't want you to risk your values because A, like, of a flipping thought, or B, because you want to keep me. I like how she she's taking it seriously now. Like she's taking his faith and his morals and values to a point, to a selfless point, like, you know, and I don't know if like that's going to be the deal breaker between them. Like, I don't know if she's going to realize like I need to have a physical connection. And once again, it really depends on like, is he everything but? Like, what will he do?
Yeah.
Because they can have a good time without having proper penetration. I learned of other methods besides soaking that they can do. So,
okay.
So there's
I have questions on the. Okay, so you've learned of other methods. My first question is, where did you learn of these other methods from?
TikTok.
Okay, and of course,
specifically, BYU and Baylor taught me.
Okay. Would you like to give us an example?
I think I'm trying to remember what it's called, but I think it's called maybe duffing.
And what do you know what that entails? Because you're not allowed to have penetration, right?
Yeah, it's essentially, maybe it's not called duffing. Hold on, it's essentially dry humping. It's what the kids call dry humping.
That's not new.
No, I know, but the word is new to me.
And this is just a way to get around saving yourself for marriage. Is you just start dry humping people like you're a dog in heat.
Yeah.
Like dry hump their leg? Like
no, like
just
derfing. It's called derfing.
Okay, that's word. Duffing is better than derfing. Derf sounds like you're gonna call someone a derf if they're being like silly or dumb, like a derf.
Look, I don't.
What?
They're derfing.
They're just dry humping each other.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. So that can they have butt sex? I can't even remember if we have
no, because that's in the Bible. No, in the Bible that
it says no butt stuff. Chapter 10, no butt stuff.
Yes, I mean, yeah, that in the Bible you're not allowed to have butt stuff.
Okay,
so that's probably not allowed. But
all right. But they can dry hump each other. So Elena has something to look forward to in season 3.
Hey, I had an orgasm from derfing before.
Did you call it derfing? Because I feel like that would end the orgasm immediately.
No, I did not call it derfing because I just learned about derfing. Anyway, this is so stupid. Let's talk about Sean.
Let's talk about Sean. One of the things to come out of this season for Sean that I really enjoyed was his friendship with Richard. I think they are 2 little peas in a pod, and it's very, very fun. The thing that is unfortunate for Sean is that he spends the majority of the season pining after Julie, who is questioning whether she may or may not like be interested in him. But like ultimately we know like she only really sees him as a friend. He's hardcore friend zone. However, things turn around for Sean in the last like 2 episodes.
Yes.
Because it seems like we are heading into some Sean and Megan territory here. I think this is going to be the best ship of the show, I assume. Yeah. They're going to go to Tuscany together. I am so freaking here for this because I think they make such an interesting, fun couple. Yeah. So we at least have that going for Sean. I'm trying to even recall, Sarah. Oh, was this the Smoothies season? That was one of his inventions.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue with the season was the lack of different inventions that Sean had. That was
he spent too much time on smoothies. That's why.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing about Sean in season 1 was every single episode he had a different invention, and I thought that was such a fun bit. But yeah, he was very on smoothies this season. He was on the documentary still. He has like a movie deal coming. So I was a little disappointed with the lack of inventions. And I felt so bad for him about the Julie stuff because he did get hardcore friend zoned and was not able to dig himself out of it. But I think that he's a really fun character. I really like him. I'm very intrigued to see how this relationship with Megan is going to go because I feel as though no one's really going to be expecting it. especially beyond like a hookup. And I definitely wasn't expecting this pairing.
No, I wasn't either. The only vibes I was getting is when, like, I think it's in the same episode it even happens when Megan says, "Oh, well, Sean's cute."
Yeah.
Then I was like, is there something here? So yeah, I'm very interested to see where things go, especially because I think we can kind of shift into talking about Megan as well. She's like more of a main character this season. She is not only, she ends the season with Sean, but she's seemingly getting closer to the girls. She stays in the loft when there's the water main break and everything. She has that night out on the town with the girls. We get to hear this entire backstory about how Greg is her version of Ben, which I loved. I thought it made so much sense and provided so much clarity for this character. So I really enjoyed what we got from Megan this season. And I'm really excited to see where we go from here because the sky's the limit, in my opinion, with Megan. Like, there's so much they could do with her because we know some vague things about her. We know she does spells and she likes to like fuck with Felicity and blah, blah, blah. But like, they really could do almost anything. We know her family life is a bit interesting. Maybe we'll find out what's in the box. I don't know.
We found out, didn't we?
We did technically find out. But I'm really excited to see where we can go from here with Megan. I think it opens a lot of doors for her, especially if she's romantically entangled with one of the crew that lives in the loft. We're going to be seeing her a lot.
Yeah. I think that Megan has a lot of wiggle room to continue doing Megan things, and why not? Like, it's really, really fun.
Yeah. Let's talk through Javier, because Javier gets married this season, and this is so exciting. I was so happy for him. I love Javier. I think he is such a fun character.
He doesn't always, funny. Yeah.
He doesn't always make the best decisions, but he's married. And not only that, he announced he is going to be a student at NYU next season.
Yeah, this is just purely like, how can we get more Javier? And I have a little predictions on how that's going to go later in the episode. But Javier, like, we didn't know if we were going to get Javier back, except me, because I made sure that I knew that Javier was coming back. But he came back and he was incredible. Like, I think like my least favorite things about Javier is him sexually harassing Ben all the time. Like, that's probably not great. Dina and DeLuca's HR is probably reeling over the decisions that Javier makes, but he's a great sounding board for Ben and Felicity, and his obsession with these two crazy kids is really funny as well. And I love seeing a same-sex marriage on TV well before it was even legalized in the United States. It's incredible. I think it's great to see, important to see. And actually, you know what I was watching today? I was watching like a 30-minute like history of The Sims 1 video. And The Sims 1 was like the first game that showed like same-sex couples.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, that makes sense, but I never thought of it.
And like allowed same-sex couples to get married as well. And that was like very revolutionary. Like, they tried to take it away, but then they like put it back in. Maxis tried to take it away and then they put it back in. So yeah, representation really, really matters, especially like in the game form. You're making characters most of the time that represents your life and your family. So it's really important. And I really liked the marriage and him going to NYU. Like I said, it's just like a way for him to be more prominent in the season.
Yeah, so we'll see where we go with Javier next season, but I always love him when he's on my screen. So I'm always pumped for more Javier. Gosh, he's gonna be a mess in class. I don't even want to think about it right now. Let's get into our character rankings. This I felt was probably I had the toughest time doing my character rankings this season. Do you want me to go first or would you like to go first?
I don't care.
Okay, I'll go first. At the bottom of my rankings is Sean, and it's unfortunate. And I love the way we ended the season with Sean, but between the lack of inventions too much focus on smoothies and like the non-consensual kiss with Julie. It just like wasn't his season for me. Yeah. I look forward to getting him and Megan together. I do think he's going to rise in my rankings next season, but it's unfortunate. This is where he ended up for me. I have Noel second to last, and I don't really know why. I felt like he was a little bit separate with his Ruby storyline. Like he wasn't in the mix a ton with like the group stuff. I don't really know why I found him and Ruby to be an annoying couple to watch. And I think that's probably why he ended up here. I also did not like that he was a TA dating a student. So he suffered in my rankings because of that. Next up, I have Elena. She had an okay season. I think some of the stuff with Tracy is like, whatever, the whole apartment thing and the wallpaper party, the paint party, whatever. It's like, I liked certain moments from Elena, but I felt like we could have gotten a little bit more from her. Then I have Julie, who I liked some of the moments from Julie, but it was such a hard season to watch for her because she just got like smacked in the face over and over again. And like, that's not always fun to watch. Next up, I have Felicity, who I think has a pretty good season. I think where she lost points from me is Greg, because Greg sucks and I hated watching her be with Greg. And so I couldn't possibly move her higher up than this. Mm-hmm. In third place, we have Javier because he gives me so much joy and I love him so much. And his ridiculous cat, who he calls mommy. Oh. Number 2, I have Ben. This is a really fantastic Ben season. I think we see a lot of growth from Ben this season. He has the Fran Drescher moment, multiple Fran Drescher moments, honestly, which we all love. So yeah, Ben, of course, is going to fall to number 2. But number 1, I feel like this should be a coming out party for Megan. I think this was a fantastic Megan season. We found out what was in the box. We found out her history with Greg. She's becoming closer with the friend group. She may be dating Sean now. Everything is looking up Megan. So I had to put Megan at number 1. I know it feels a little silly because she's a little bit more of a secondary character.
No. She's in the opening credits.
She's in the opening credits. And I think she's earned her spot there. And I'm really, really excited to see what happens with her going forward. So she is my number 1 of the season.
Yeah, that's really a good rankings list. Mine is not too dissimilar, but a little different. On the bottom, I have Julie. I'm a little mad at Julie. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I just feel like so burned that she burned Sean. I did not like it, as I've said a billion times. And nobody enjoys like a sad Julie character, like it's boring and lame, and I don't like it. So there goes poor Julie. I feel like talking about character assassinations, I think that she got the character assassination of the season. Hopefully next season will be better for her, but she is boring, in my opinion. Next up is Elena. I might switch this actually, because I really, really, really like Elena with Tracy a lot. So I might bump Noel down to second to last. And the reason is that like for everything that you said as well, where it's just like the Ruby relationship, like it kind of like dragged. Like I liked how it made him as a character. Like I think that he became like a better man because of the Ruby relationship. But this season, it was very much like, okay, what kind of like meaningless fight are we going to get with Ruby today?
Exactly. It was so, it was over and over again.
So then I'm going to put Elena third to last because just like, I don't know, she's better. Like I like her better, but especially with the Tracy, but without Tracy, do I like Elena? That's the question. And does that mean, do I really just like Tracy? Is that the truth? Do I just like Tracy? AKA, do I just like Donald Faison? Do I just like Turk? Is that what it is? Like, I'm not quite sure. So, but I really like Elena and Tracy together. I think that he brings out like a really great side of Elena, but will I like her when he, I assume, goes away next season in one part? Next up, I have Sean. I like Sean as a character. I think that he has a lot of heart. I think that he really pulled my heartstrings when he was friend zoned. I I know the Smoothies was not a hit, but I like his mind and I like to see more of him. Next up, I have Megan. I like Megan a lot. Like, I like her potential. I think that next season she has a really good potential of being one of my like top 2 or top 3 favorite characters. And I like what they did with her this season. I think that like I just want more. Javier is third from the top. Javier is great. He's so funny. I really enjoy him. Such a good time whenever he's on the screen. Second place is Felicity. Felicity grew a lot. I really, really, really like the woman that she's becoming. She might have ugly ass hair, but that's not her fault. And I just like really like who she became this season and all the things that like every single moment where she grew, became a better person. I think that she did a lot of growth. I'm very proud of her. And number 1, and this is just in case, like, I mean, if I was a person that was not Team Noel, you know, number 1 is Ben. I fucking love Ben. I can't lie. Like, he is just spectacular. He is all vibes. He's like so funny. Like, I love his development and his growth this season. I think he's like interesting. I think he has a lot of depth. He doesn't have that ucky possessiveness and jealousy that Noel has. He doesn't have his like annoying quirks like Sean has. He isn't like, he's kind of a creepy stalker like Felicity, but like he's just the best. Like, I can see myself watching this and as like a teenager and being in love with Ben. Like, in love with Ben. Like, I can see myself being like, he is just everything. And I really like all the romantic gestures he did this season. I really like, I mean, like him like running off to upstate New York to like be with Felicity. Like, that really did it for me. I just like all in all, he was just spectacular. Like, I'm like obsessed with him. Like, I really am. Like, I just think that he's so cute. Like, he made such like good romantic moves. I think that he like really worked on himself. Like, I think that like a man who goes to therapy is very attractive as well. Yeah, I love Ben, but in actuality, I fucking hate Ben. He's disgusting and he makes me want to puke. And he's really stealing horrible amounts of screen time from Noel. Absolutely awful.
And he doesn't have the pillowy lips that Scott Pillowy has.
He's actually very, very attractive. I love his face. And he's even better looking now. Even better looking now.
Oh, he's had a significant, not even glow up because he was always attractive, but like he's a hot adult for sure.
I'm obsessed with him and I'm obsessed with this character, but actually he disgusts me in every capacity.
You hate him. Yeah.
I hate him. I hate Ben, but I love him so much. I love him so much. I want to kiss him, but I hate him.
So let's get into MVP of the season. I feel like it should be obvious based on our rankings. I put my MVP as Megan, mostly because my favorite episode she plays an absolutely pivotal role in. And I do think that like this is just the setup for like even more that we're going to get from Megan in the future.
Yeah, I put Ben because I'm obsessed with him and I think that he's great and I think he had a great season and he really like transformed as a person and I think he's going to be such a good boyfriend until eventually he probably fucks up, but that's okay. And then I can hate him and then I'm like Team Noel. Of course I am because I love Team Noel.
Yeah. LVP of the season, I put Noel, mostly because him and Ruby were not it for me up until like the very end when she's leaving, where I thought, wow, he's so mature and nice. I just hated their relationship, so Noel had to be at the bottom for me.
Yeah, I put Julie because I can hold a grudge like no other. And the fact that she friend zoned Sean like that makes me very mad at her. So I hold a grudge.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk through who won our MVP and LVP based on the points that we assigned them. Would you like to take any guesses as to who the winner was this season?
Felicity.
You are correct. With 5 points, Felicity secured a win as the winner of the season. I think this is so interesting considering she wasn't either of our MVPs of the season, but she did so many great things this season that like it does make sense that she would win it. It's fascinating.
I mean, like, I think that I mean, once again, I'm like very, very biased towards Ben, and I definitely took the Ben juice. But I do think that Felicity had a great season, phenomenal season.
Yeah. As for the loser, Elena didn't get any points this season, which is unfortunate.
How many did Tracy get, though?
Tracy got 2.
This is my point. I think that I just like Tracy.
I think you do too. Yeah. Javier and Megan both had 4 points, so they were close to getting MVP or the winner of the season. Yeah,
that's impressive.
Let's get into our least favorite episodes of the season. I think both of us kind of struggled with Help for the Lovelorn. Sorry, every time. I literally am reading it on a document and I can't say it.
Yeah.
It just because of its placement, honesty, like it's placed very weirdly, and it's a weird one. It's just a weird one.
Yeah, it was sandwiched between a part 1 and a part 2, so that certainly didn't help it. It also was just a little too abstract for us, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially with a season where like the drama was high and there was a bunch of fuckery that we were really enjoying. This kind of was like a little bit of a slog to get through, especially when there was so much good like meat and potatoes. Yes, I am grateful for maybe knowing what's in Megan's box, but until I know for positive for sure, I wasn't feeling it.
I also put the slump on here just because it wasn't one of my favorites. It was the one where like Felicity's parents are splitting up and it's like Ben wants to leave town. It's like whatever. But you mentioned getting lucky, which I also added to my list because for personal reasons, that was a very difficult episode for me.
Yeah, I really did not enjoy getting lucky. It kind of just bummed me out, and I just don't like dog deaths or animal deaths in shows, and just like the whole thing, like her like bringing the dog everywhere and it was
had a really sad ending,
and it had a very sad ending. And then in the next episode we see like Lucky talking to her, and I didn't like the whole Lucky stuff. Like it just didn't work for me, and I don't know, it really just bummed me out. So, but I will say that there was not a lot of episodes that I absolutely hated. Like I would refuse to watch again. Like there is a handful of episodes of all the other shows that we have covered.
This is no Joey's mugging situation.
And there's shows where or episodes that I would just never ever watch again. In Buffy as well, and in Boy Meets World, but I don't think that Felicity has that at all, and not really this season. Like it's not like I wouldn't watch Getting Lucky or Help for the Lovelorn. It's just that I didn't enjoy them, so it's like I had to make conversation with you. Like I had to choose two, but for a lot, I felt like this was a very consistent season, where there wasn't times where I was like, oh, this is so boring, or this is so annoying. It was kind of all good. And I think I definitely had an easier time finding favorite episodes more so than least favorite episodes.
Certainly. I think especially it ramps up at the end in such an incredible way that there are some obvious standouts, but there aren't as many obvious standouts for being bad, which I appreciate, because even if 50% of the season is average, at least we're not dipping below that for crumbs, Yeah. But speaking of favorite episodes, I think most people who enjoy Felicity would probably be in agreement that the Aretha theory, Ben Was Here, and Final Answer, those three, which are all right in a row, are incredible episodes. I even like the finale, the biggest deal there is, even though I don't think it's as exciting as the other three.
Yeah.
I think the ending of this season is really where it hits its mark.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Those 3 episodes, and to a lesser extent, the finale. I didn't mind the finale, but especially compared to the Aretha theory where they're like out partying, that was really great, and having their girls' night. Ben was here, which was the episode where like Ben like goes off and makes his grand gesture, and that was really fun. And Final Answer is always like the mess was just so messy. It was so good, so delicious. I loved it. And so like just those 3 together was really incredible television. Very, very enjoyable. Like very fun to talk about as well. I think that you and I definitely like hit our stride and like enjoying to talk about Felicity, and just especially with our like new format, like it just makes it very much more interesting to talk about like the shit that happens. Like it's more conversational. It's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
A 4th episode that I did put down was Family Affairs, which is the Thanksgiving episode. I think
it was a good one.
Show does a really good job about making Thanksgiving episodes exciting, which so reminds me of Friends. Like it's such like a 90s thing to choose a holiday, and then every season there's a exciting holiday episode. And between last season's Thanksgiving episode, where oh my god, Javier was just so funny that episode, especially with Julie, and it's like everybody.
What was it? The recipe? You know. You know have recipe?
You don't have recipe?
Yeah,
or something like that. It was just so good. Like, and like he was like, "You're wearing that?"
Yeah, he brings the whole ass turkey.
Oh my god, it was so good, so good. And this season was great too, or this episode was great too, because like we had Felicity's parents, David's mom. And then those 2 messy bitches, Noel and Felicity, had to kiss in the fucking room.
Of course they had to. And
then, of course, they got caught by David's mom. And then everybody comes in. It was just so good and so bad. They're so bad. And remind me, it was Noel and Felicity last Thanksgiving too. Like, yeah. Something about Thanksgiving where these 2, their lips are like magnets, and
they're drawn to each other on Thanksgiving,
and that makes me very excited to see next Thanksgiving's episode. Does it happen again?
Yeah.
If I was Felicity, I would stay far, far away from Noel on Thanksgiving. But
yes.
But yeah, so. Like I said, a much, much easier time choosing favorite episodes than least favorite episodes. And I think that says a lot, because typically I'm like, oh yeah, fuck this episode, fuck that episode of whatever season we're covering. But no, not this time. Like I had to choose 2. I mean, I would watch Help for the Lovelorn again. I didn't hate it. Getting Lucky just bummed me out. Like it's not like it was the most revolting thing that I ever saw.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Let's talk through the predictions that we made at the end of season 1 about season 2 and see how many we guessed correctly. I have a feeling that mine were like totally off, but we'll see. Sarah, you predicted Felicity is going to drive home with Ben and Julie and Noel will freak out.
Yeah, that could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, certainly she went home with Ben, so you got part. Yeah.
And Julie and Noel, they were pissed.
They were not happy about it. Yeah. Julie and Sean hook up / dating. Sean will tell Ben that he didn't know how lucky he was to have Julie. No. Not quite. No. You got the like vibe that something was going to happen between them, but yeah. Noel will be petty and ignore Felicity and Ben for the first few episodes.
I'm pretty sure that happened. I know that Julie did that.
Yeah. I think that's pretty, yeah. I think the struggle was that Felicity, because Elena was now living with Noel, that like he was kind of forced to interact with Felicity.
Yeah.
Julie will transfer schools by the end of the season because of all the bullshit.
No, not quite. And funnily enough, that I made the exact same prediction in the
again.
I didn't even realize it. I didn't read back, but
it's
sure.
Felicity will change her major to art, and Elena will be disappointed. Ding ding ding.
Yeah,
that was spot on.
Yeah.
Felicity will find out about Elena's affair and meddle. Surprisingly, not a ton about the affair.
Only Noel knows about it at this moment.
Yeah, and nothing happened with that. I'm shocked.
Not yet. Yeah.
Guy will be in the opening credits.
No.
Did not see him at all.
No.
Felicity and Megan will somehow room together and they will get closer this year. Ding, ding, ding. Sally appearance. Nope. We didn't even hear her voice, I don't think. Well, we heard her voice in that
a few times.
Lovelorn episode.
Yeah.
Julie resolution.
Yeah.
Does that mean she's resolved like with Felicity?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then that happened.
Yeah.
You got some good guesses here.
Yeah, I'm a genius.
You are. Yeah. You're a prophet. My guesses were Felicity spent the road trip with Ben and they had sex, after which Ben acts differently towards Felicity. They didn't have sex. He did eventually act differently towards her, but Felicity and Julie try to be friends again, but will ultimately be frenemies.
I mean, like that's
the opposite happened.
Kinda. I mean, like I still think they're a little bit of frenemies, but
okay. Felicity and Noel have sex by mid-season. That was totally wrong. Julie spends most of the season single. That is true.
Kinda, yeah. She did date that rando, but yeah, she was single.
Yeah. Felicity finds out about Mr. McGrath and Elena and talks sense into Elena. No, that never happened.
I forgot that was still kind of like an open thing with Elena last season, but they really just like yada yada it and ended it off screen, which was
happy.
Great.
Yeah. Julie does drugs.
No, Julie is sober for now.
Felicity gets drunk AF at a party and kisses 2 dudes in one night. Does she not kiss Noel and David on Thanksgiving night?
Yeah.
I don't think she gets like super drunk, but she's definitely drinking.
Yeah.
Because they're drinking that punch that like someone made. Was it her teacher made it or something?
I don't know.
So that's fun. Sean makes 3 decent inventions Sarah and I like. That's not even true. The s'mores maker we liked. We hated smoothies. And I can't remember any of the other ones.
I had s'mores last week or the week before, and I'm having s'mores tonight. Can
I tell you a TikTok that I saw about s'mores?
Yeah.
Tell me what you think of this idea. You're not going to like it. Maybe you should tell Adam, though, because Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam's not a big chocolate guy.
No, he does not like chocolate.
Is he a savory guy?
Such savory.
He might like this.
He's so obsessed with savory and I hate savory. So we don't like the same snacks.
Yeah, I was going to say, because this is not for you, but this might be for him. Someone on TikTok took a tiny thing of brie, like a brie cheese stick, if you will, like an individually serving size of cheese, of brie cheese. I'm thinking you could use a Baby Bell, but brie cheese. Cooked that, got it all melty over an open fire like a s'more, put it on some regular crackers, not graham crackers. And I think they used like a little bit of jam and maybe they did something else. I'm not sure. And it made like a savory s'more.
Oh, I'm going to tell him about this. He would love that.
Yeah. Tell him I think a Baby Bell is the best option.
Yeah. I'll tell him about it. I feel like he would really, really like it. That sounds like my worst nightmare, but
I mean, I would love it. My biggest criticism of the s'more is that the marshmallow is so messy and sticky and it annoys me. Like, at least cheese isn't sticky.
Ugh. I love marshmallow.
Yeah. Okay, where was I? Sean and Julie kiss.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Sean kisses Julie.
Yeah, unfortunately.
It was
Julie,
not really
it was not consensual.
Yeah.
Julie gets cat character assassinated.
Yeah, that was pretty much right.
Kind of. I would say like she goes through some really shitty stuff, but I didn't end up hating her. So that's different than like the way Dawson's Creek would do things.
Sure.
So those are our predictions. And we do have predictions for season 3. Sarah, would you like to read yours first?
I would love to. Megan and Felicity are somehow roommates again.
Yes, we love it.
Pretty much guaranteed, in my opinion.
I think so too, yeah.
I also think that they're going to become close friends this season.
I would love that.
Yeah, actually friends. Okay. Julie transfers out of the school to pursue music. Maybe a local newspaper picks up that she gave her kidney up to her bio father and becomes a little media darling / America's sweetheart.
I love this for her.
Yeah, this was very specific.
I love a specific guess. It's incredible.
Ben and Felicity break up by the end of the season, which opens up Felicity and Noel to get back together in season 4. Noel graduates and gets a job in graphic design in the city. Javier and Samuel adopt a baby, maybe Ruby's baby. Javier is in literally all of Ben's classes. All of them.
I love that. Yeah. I can see that. Benjamin.
Yeah. Because I think like Ben's maybe a business major and Javier, I think, would probably go into business. So I just see him just like putting himself in literally all of Ben's classes, which will drive Ben crazy, but be really funny to see. And then I think we're going to have a strong showing for Sean and Megan's relationship, but no one's going to understand it at first.
Interesting. I think I could see that. Yeah. I mean, like Felicity seemed to be fine with it. Do you mean no one like the group or like the fans? Okay. The group.
Yeah. The group. Like everyone's gonna be like, what the fuck is happening?
We're going to start the season with Ben and Felicity together and happy, but midway through the season, there's going to be some sort of a breakup and it's going to be Felicity who fucks it up. Not
interesting. Ben. Yeah. Like another Thanksgiving kiss with Noel.
Something like that. Yeah. Elena and Tracy are going to break up.
Boo.
Julie is going to give her kidney to her father and they become close. Noel is going to go to jail.
Why?
I think something to do with Natalie.
Yeah, maybe.
Someone catches someone else getting it in. So not okay. And this is different than when the group was like spying on Felicity and Ben having sex, because I'm specifically saying someone's going to open the door and somebody's going to be doing something.
Okay.
Richard gets a girlfriend. Love that for him.
Sure.
Megan and Sean become the it couple for fans.
Okay.
Which it's hard for me to predict because I don't know what fans thought, but like we'll get the history from like DBK.
Yeah, at least DBK is the it couple for him.
Sean makes a sex invention for him and Megan.
Oh, okay.
I love it.
Okay.
Javier is going to go to school to open his own coffee shop. So I agree with you. I think he's going to be some sort of like business major.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. That tracks.
And I do think that like in the breakup between Ben and Felicity, before Felicity inevitably does something with Noel, she'll date some sort of an artist at some point.
Okay. Yeah.
That's my guess.
Sure.
So those are our predictions for season 3. We did get some feedback. We got an email from Jamie who said, I thought her thoughts were so interesting. She said she thought the season had amazing episodes, but lacked consistency. Because
that's interesting.
Yeah, she enjoyed the beginning with sophomoric and the list, but then once Felicity got her haircut, she said the show kind of stalled out for her. And she said that when we had new love interests like David, Maggie, and Ruby, but the only one, or in her opinion, that worked was Noel and Ruby. And then she said like, okay, it picked back up steam once Ben and Felicity break into the pool, but then it starts to stall again with all the Greg and healthcare center stuff and the election, which Jamie found very boring.
Well, I mean, I always say the opposite of love isn't hate, it is indifference or apathy. So I would rather I think that the reason why some of those episodes in the middle worked for me is because we were giving like a good hating into David. But if I was like, oh, I don't fucking care, I don't care about this, it's so boring, I don't care, I feel like that would have made a worse season for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Jamie also hates Greg and says he's the worst character ever.
Oh God, he really is. I fucking can't stand that guy.
And she also makes the note of the 3 episodes of Ben Was Here, the Aretha Theory, and Final Answer being like the best run of 3. But Jamie says, I would still prefer season 1 because it had more consistency, but season 2 definitely had more great episodes and also some very blah episodes. She liked similar ones that we did. Ben Was Here, the Aretha Theory, the Final Answer. But also she put The List, Family Affair, which I think you had, and Great Expectations. She didn't like Help for the Lovelorn, Getting Lucky, which is similar to us, Portraits, Crash, and Running Mates. This is so interesting. Her character rankings, she has Felicity at the top, followed by Ben and Megan and Javier. So like, I feel like that's kind of similar to us. Then Elena, Noel, Sean, and Julian last, which is similar to you. And I don't know if you already read this, Sarah, but she has a clarification because she is a team Ben. And it is about the fact that I don't remember this, but
I did say it.
So you said Ben was a serial cheater, but Jamie wanted to clarify he never cheated on anybody. That like when Lynn's girlfriend hit on him, he rejected her. He didn't pursue Felicity until he and Julie were broken up. And then Maggie was the one who was cheating on her husband. He wasn't the cheater in that situation. And she also says that she thinks Ben is more faithful than Noel has been. Let's not forget when Ben first kissed Felicity in the Boggle episode, he was with Hannah and did not disclose that information to Felicity. Which I think they were in an open relationship, right?
Allegedly.
So long ago now.
I don't remember them talking about that, but allegedly, yes.
That's what other people have said to us, though.
You are so right, Jamie. Ben is not a cheater. I think like what I was thinking is he's a commitment phobe. Like that's
that's what you meant to say. Yes, because that I would definitely agree with. He is very afraid of commitment.
He's a commitment phobe. Maybe not anymore, but we'll see how this goes. But you're right. He is not a cheater. I totally misspoke / I was wrong. But I do think that previously he had issues with commitment. And we saw that with Felicity. We saw that with Julie. And I think that what turned it around for him, once again, was dating Maggie, him getting hurt in that situation and realizing like, oh, like, these are things I actually want. Like I actually want a relationship. I actually want to be committed to somebody. So I think, and once again, that is like absolute growth on Ben's side. But you're right. He is not a cheater. Noel's definitely a cheater.
Noel has cheated, yeah.
But also he's a perfect baby angel and he can't do anything wrong. Yeah. But also, I wouldn't date that fucking man if you paid me because I know he's going to be cheating on me with his big pillowy lips. But also, he would never do that because he's such a sweet guy.
Jamie ends the email with hearing we were doing the Face on the Milk Carton podcast, which is out now over on Whirlwind Podcast. So go give it a listen. She mentions the movie, which is so funny because we talk about the movie on the podcast.
Yes, I did watch the movie. I found it on the YouTube and it was too much, but also good. It also made me realize that I liked the second book a lot more than the first book, even though I have not read the first book, or the second book rather. But I was much more interested in the second half of the movie than the first half.
Yeah. But go check out that podcast over on Whirlwind Podcast. It was really, really fun. Of course, we also got some voicemails. So let's hear what Temmie has to say about season 2.
Hi, ladies. Sarah, Sam is a fine nickel name for Javier's partner, but it could be better. Throw in some Samuel. See if you like it. DBK was right to bring up Ali Larder. She was also in a 98 Degrees video where she gets married to all 4 guys in the band as a premise.
Oh, that's wild.
One of the guys says that at the end. Yeah, I probably watched the making of the video of that video at the time. And I, recently listened to Jessica Simpson's memoir a couple months ago. Now to the main point, short haircuts. I think Amber Rose pulls off the short haircut that she had. To me, she looks better with short hair. What do you think, and what do you think about her? Does she get a beauty bonus credit for increasing in beauty with short hair? If you agree with my opinion that she looks better with short hair? As if she overcame some kind of obstacle and got better and kept the status quo. Kind of like Alicia Keys, not wearing makeup in public. Thanks. Bye.
I had to Google who Amber Rose is, and I don't know if because I'm, me with my pop culture knowledge isn't always great.
Yeah.
She's a model.
Yeah, so Amber Rose was definitely more prominent not too long ago. I think that she dated Kanye West. She was married to Wiz Khalifa. And she was definitely a like height of popularity person in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And she did shave her hair. And
I think it looks better.
I do think that she is beautiful with short hair. I also like it when she has longer hair, but it's pulled up and off her face. And I think it's because she just has the face shape to pull it off. So yeah,
she has that strong jawline. Like she doesn't need that hair blocking it.
Yeah. I also like have not seen her with her natural hair. So like unrelaxed or like unbraided and longer. So I'm curious like what her natural hair would look like without it being in braids or shaven. So I would love to see that, but I don't think so. I think that she keeps it short. Also, Girly did not have to get that face tattoo.
It's so bad.
Girly Pop looked so pretty without it, but whatever. I mean,
it's fine. Her decision, I guess.
Whatever makes Amber Rose happy.
Let's hear what DBK has to say about season 2.
What up, though, ladies? Okay, I'm gonna jump in on the like best show you covered debate. Obviously, I'm putting Felicity 1. It goes over Dawson's Creek because I just think Felicity's like a better quality show, and like Dawson's Creek kind of gets like wacky at the end and like loses the thread a bit. Then I would go Buffy, because Buffy, I'm only in season 2 right now. Buffy has like bad CGI, and then I like kind of giggle sometimes over the body double stuff with Sarah Michelle Gellar, at least.
This is so true, though.
And then Boy Meets World is like the cheesiest one of the 4 you guys have covered. Okay. So what I want you guys to, well, obviously I want to know who won the season, and then can we get like an overall count? Because Julie won season 1 with 6 points. Yuck. Can I get predictions on where everyone's going to live next year? Like what the living arrangements is going to be for everybody. Also, can we get like if we know, or tell me what they're in school for, because there's like one character we still don't know what they are in school for, so I'm curious what you think their like major is, right? And then I guess we can throw in what Tavier is going to be doing. Yeah, I see. I think your guys' take is you like season 2 better than you like season 1, which I find interesting, and we'll see like when you get more of the story if that like still holds up. Yeah, I think that's it for this week. I'm gonna send along a little bonus feature via email that you guys should watch because I just think it's funny. Don't squeeze my shoes, Jessica. And yeah, until next week, ladies. Peace.
Did you squeeze his shoes?
I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's in regard to the extra YouTube video he sent in. But don't remind me, we'll talk about that after because I want to make sure I don't forget his questions. So the point breakdown was as follows. Ben got 2 points. Noel got 1. Julie got 2. Alina got 0. Blair, who I don't even know who that is, got 0. Javier got 4. Felicity got 5. Lynn was not in this season. Sean got 1. Megan got 4. Tony got 0. And Tracy got 2. So those were the point breakdowns. As far as who is living where, I think both of us are in agreement. Megan and Felicity are still going to live together.
Yes. Are they going to be RAs again, or are they going to be living off campus?
I don't think their friendship is at the point yet where they would be living together off campus. So I'm going to say they're still RAs.
Yeah, I would have made that assumption. Or like maybe they're supposed to be RAs, but something happened and they both get fired or passed over. So they have to live with each other because they don't really have another option.
Yeah. What do we think about the loft? Are we still going to have Sean, Ben, and Julie living together?
Ooh, yes.
I'm going to say
maybe Julie moves in with Elena.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I think Julie and Elena are going to live together. And I think Noel is going to move in with the boys.
With the boys or with Natalie at first.
Well, yeah, after his marriage breaks up, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that. And is that everybody?
I think so.
Richard is hanging around. He doesn't need a place to live.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody. So those are our predictions on where people live. I think we already answered the other questions about.
Well, okay, so the majors. So Felicity is obviously an art major.
Elena medicine.
Elena medicine. Noel's graphic design. Julie is music. So we don't know Ben because I don't think Ben's decided. But
No.
Ben will probably fall into business, or maybe like he'll go into child psychology or just regular psychology.
That's fascinating.
Like, oh, like I'm very inspired by Tony Pavone. Maybe he'll do like social work.
I like that. He's good with kids. Okay. If he doesn't become a teacher, which is what I actually think he'll do, I would like to make a dumb prediction and say Ben is going to get into acting.
Oh,
because he can't even enunciate his words. So I think it would be really funny if if he got into acting.
But
yeah,
will be business.
Definitely. I think he's going to open his own coffee shop or something.
Tracy's obviously medical. Megan, we don't know what Megan's major is.
Oh, this is true.
Maybe that was what they were referring to.
I'm going to say accounting. That has to be something so boring.
Like a sexy accountant.
She wants to be a sexy accountant.
Like OnlyFans.
Yeah.
I think I do think it's probably something like really boring. And like it would be funny when we find out. Like maybe it's like public relations or HR, or maybe it's like nursing or something. Just like something like random.
Yeah.
Not that those careers are random, but
not fitting of her personality. Yeah. And then the message that DBA said he sent us. So I watched the video he sent us. It's very funny. It's a DVD extra for season 2, and it's basically like they're they're basically talking about not getting an Emmy, and so they do different like spoofs on like the X-Files, and it must have been there must have been Law and Order, I assume, was another one of them, and then another one was like generic hospital show, which is probably like ER or something. And it's really funny because at one point Felicity is operating on Julie and she's like, okay, and she does, where you like scalpel, where you do the thing, but she goes recorder, and they hand her the recorder, and she's like, this was the first time I've ever removed someone's gallbladder, Sally. Can a person live without a gallbladder? And Julie is like fully awake, like, what are you talking about? It's really, you should watch it. It's really funny. I can link it in the show notes. So yeah, it's worth watching because it's very silly, and Felicity has her long hair, which we appreciate.
Ooh, yeah, I'll check it out. That sounds fun.
Mm-hmm. So that's it for our season 2 wrap up. We've already talked through, I think twice because my memory sucks, that next week's episode is called The Christening, which maybe, again, I think you had predicted that like Javier and Samuel are going to have a baby or adopt a baby or something like that. So it could be that baby's christening. We'll see. But I'm excited to start season 3.
Me too.
But okay. Anything else, Sarah, before we get on out of here? We covered Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, that's it. Covered Hocus Pocus. Go check out Hocus Pocus. Happy Halloween, bitches.
Yes, it is spooky season. Happy Halloween. Stay safe, stay happy, put on a cute little costume, do your thing. Eat some candy. You deserve it. We'll be back with season 3, episode 1 next week, The Christening. Until then, everyone, have a good one. Bye.
Just ask. Shit 90 shows taught me.
Shit 90 Shows Taught Me was not filmed before a live studio audience.